This will be fun because there's no,
Nothing can
we
go
don't
really
report,
wrong.
We don't report to anybody. We just take care of it. What's the single biggest misconception about robotics and hospitality?
That robots are here to replace people. Robotics and automation are going to become the expectation rather than the exception.
We're talking about the future of work, the economics of automation, the guest experience of tomorrow, and what really happens when a robot joins your team. This is the conversation every hotel owner, operator, and innovator needs to hear. Check in, power up, and join us. So Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Bob.
My pleasure. So I want to ask you a question it's probably pretty easy. What's the single biggest misconception about robotics in hospitality today?
It's a great question. I think for me, the biggest misconception is that robots are here to replace people, right? My background prior to Relay is not in robotics. I come from the software space, right? And, specifically enabling folks to, build software into what they are doing in service of their business goals, right? Robotics to me is very much the same way. It's a tool that hotels, hospitality, and also, by the way, we're in hospitals and other verticals as well.
Right.
But hotels can build into their existing processes to supplement their staff, empower them, and elevate the experience rather than sort of think about it as, a replacement for a person.
And it's a good point when you said about the misconception of them replacing jobs. All of the robots in our hotels, because we're using your robots in our hotels.
Thank you.
All of them, well, of course, all of them have helped the employees, and the employees love them. Because not only do they not replace the employee, they make it easy for the employee to not have to leave the front desk.
Yep.
Because especially late at night, when I have one employee taking care of an entire hotel, I don't have to worry about them locking the front door and getting a guest upset that they can't get in while they're delivering something when Relay can deliver it itself.
We hear that on a lot specifically. I mean, the overnight example is an obvious one, right? Like you don't want your security minding the front desk so that your front desk person is upstairs delivering an Uber Eats order or something like that.
No,
right?
Because security people aren't really customer service oriented in general. There are exceptions, but that's not who you want meeting your guest. Not ideally.
Yeah. And so like the way that I like to think about it is, right, like rather than replacing people, you're empowering people to do tasks that are more valuable or more appropriate for their skill set, right? Because you think of the example of somebody having to run an order upstairs in the middle of the night, there could be 2 to 3 people waiting at the front desk. And like that has knock-on effects for customer experience and for, satisfaction and all of those other things.
This isn't even about robots, but when I check into a hotel and there's nobody at the front desk, and it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Why are they not at the front desk? Because something came up, a guest had a challenge. They couldn't find anybody in housekeeping or maintenance on their walkie-talkie or on the phone. And then they go into the back room and now they're texting people, or they're actually going to deliver something themselves because there's nobody there to help them. And then you think the hotel's at fault because there's nobody at the front desk, and the poor desk clerk, he or she is just trying to help.
Yeah.
But there's no manager on duty at night, oftentimes. Not at our hotels, but oftentimes.
It can happen.
Sure.
Exactly right. And like the way that I like to articulate that or for customers or prospects is like it's about driving employee efficiency, right? It's not about, as I said, replacing, but like it's about making sure that you've got the right person on the right problem at the right time, so the experience is optimized and your labor is optimized, right? Like
absolutely,
you don't need somebody that you are expecting to do, higher level tasks running a toothbrush upstairs, right?
Well, those toothbrushes can be important, though.
I have been on the receiving end of a toothbrush being run up, and there's nothing more important at the time.
Coincidentally, coincidentally, last night, I go to brush my teeth, and I realized I brought my toothpaste, but not my toothbrush. And that's not like me.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really good. And I actually vividly remember placing my toothbrush somewhere, but it wasn't in my bag.
Yeah.
So I did walk down. I wasn't, I still was dressed. So I walked down and got a toothbrush. I mean, what are you going to do?
It would have been nice.
I would have, yes, but they didn't have a robot.
Yeah.
See? So you have to have a robot now.
No, and it's that actually brings up an interesting point, right? There are certain things like that where there is actually, if not an expectation of benefit to a contactless, humanless delivery, right? Like you are in your dressing gown, you don't want to get your clothes on, you don't necessarily present yourself as person facing after a certain hour in the evening,
Right.
And people are used to getting Uber Eats. People are used to getting DoorDash.
Yeah.
Like there is comfort with that. And it's nice to have sort of an autonomous robot experience rather than to have to stick your hand out the door and, not reveal your true self.
So interestingly, I was thinking when you look at the next decade and when we see change, like, the iPhone and what is now X and LinkedIn and Facebook and all that, all came about right around 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And things have changed in those 18 years, but I don't know that we're going to go anywhere near 18 years to get that level of change when we're going forward. So when you look at the next decade, what's the inevitable shift that hotels need to prepare for?
Well, I think that robotics and automation more broadly are going to become the expectation rather than the exception, right? I think as people continue to get more comfortable with technology, barriers naturally fall away. I agree with you completely that these things snowball and the cycles move faster and faster. So, when you talk about in 2026, the novelty of having a robot, that novelty will go away. The expectation will be there, right? And as you right now are empowering, your employees to leverage robotics, that's going to be a standard part of the job at some point, right? That's going to be an expectation. They're going to expect those tools when they come to work because it's part of their toolkit in the same way that, certain software programs were 10 to 15 years ago. We're just sort of moving along the same curve and starting to bring a little bit more automation into the hospitality space.
Yeah, and I was thinking that the word autonomous really was out perfect for me because, we talk about autonomous vehicles out there,
Mm-hmm.
and robots are pretty much autonomous. I mean, sure, we have to program what room we're going to send something to.
Mm-hmm.
But once the program is hit at the front desk, our robot is right at the front desk at our hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we could figure out a place to plug it in anywhere, but number one, you want to charge the battery, and number two, you want to make sure that there's somebody there who knows how to program the robot. And all of our staff pick it up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
One of the reasons they pick it up quickly, in my opinion, is their age. And the age of the guest is also getting younger and younger, the average age. As we age, baby boomers and Gen X are now less than half of the traveling public.
Mm-hmm.
It's millennials and Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
And so those people are very comfortable with automation of all types, whether it's AI or robotics or any type of technology. And our staff is very comfortable with it. So the 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds it takes for them to say, this one goes to 412. And as you know, Relay goes to the elevator using the Wi-Fi system, goes up to the room. I mean, it is autonomous. We don't do anything other than the first few seconds of programming.
Yeah. Have you taken a Waymo yet?
I have not taken a Waymo yet. Have you?
I have. So, and the reason I bring this up is because when I first saw them, I was like, boy, I don't know. I'm really comfortable with a driver. You know what I mean? Like been using Uber for years. It's a good experience. Do I really need to change? But I have to say I love it, right? That autonomous experience is really, really cool. They are extremely smooth driving, reliable, and all of this. And I'm not here to hype up Waymo too much, but the reason I say that is because we are making a truly autonomous delivery vehicle, right? Like it does not need to press the elevator buttons. It's fully programmable, fully mapped, and like that type of experience is extremely reliable. We build our robots to be hospital grade. We operate not just in hotels, but in large, complex hospitals. And so one of the reasons why we're differentiated in the space and, are really well suited to it is because like we are truly autonomous and like fully every single component like made in the USA and owned by Relay, right? So like if something breaks, we fix it. We know the entire supply chain and we own that as part of the robot, right? It's not just sort of pieced together from other parts. We know how to handle it, service it, maintain it in the hotels, and support it fully.
Right. Okay. Well, I would tend to agree as the one who's responsible for making sure that Relay, and of course, we should probably tell people about names because we have a name. We've always named, one of our hotels, we named the robot Hubert. And people say, why did you name it Hubert? Well, first of all, we had a contest and the employees, our team members, picked the name.
Yeah.
And they had to get together and have a contest, and they did that themselves. No management supervision. I had nothing to do with it. They picked Hubert. We said, why'd you pick Hubert? Well, in that market, that's San Marcos, then the 78 corridor where the hotel is referred to as the hub of entertainment, retail, and transportation. Hubert.
Love it.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And then, of course, our two sister hotels where we have robots, they named it Robin and Batman. So there you have it.
That's great. And we see a lot of people injecting their own personality into the robots too. And like the naming's a great way to do it, like different wraps or like dressing them up seasonally, things like that. Really making them part of the family.
And we absolutely do that, especially for St. Patrick's Day. Any time you can put a uniform on them with a wrap, it's great.
Yeah.
So what do you see as the next step for the marriage of Relay Robotics and hotels?
Yeah, I think we'd love to continue integrating deeper into the hotel systems, right? Like we want to make sure that it's smoother to order room service directly. And so integrating with systems, point of sale systems, Toast, et cetera, things like that could come in a way that just sort of makes it much easier to automate the full chain, so to speak. Our elevator integrations currently allow you to leverage those same elevator integrations for things like cleaning robots and other robots that we don't make. But it would be interesting to continue to partner with those other types of robots to see what we can do together, because ours are really focused on delivery and service and things like that. But we know that that's only a portion of what most hotels are starting to think about when they think about robotics and automation more broadly.
Well, I just did a conversation with one of the news channels in San Diego, and the conversation was about the minimum wage. And the minimum wage went up to $30 now in Los Angeles and $25 in San Diego. And these wages are spiraling in small towns in Pennsylvania are having these conversations. And we understand and want our team members to make a good living. And we pay 90% of their health care, and we love our team members. But at these rates that are starting to inflate all the rates, because, of course, once somebody's making $30 an hour, somebody wants 40. The ones who are currently making, say, 25, they want 35 and 40.
Of course.
And you get to a point where we are now is where profits are actually on the decline. So there will be a time where we as hotel operators are going to say, look, if we have a choice of a robot who works 24 hours a day, doesn't call out, and doesn't complain, and gets the job done for half or less of the price, we might be looking at robots that cook, robots that check guests in, robots that clean. Don't know whether or not they can provide maintenance, but maybe in the next 5 or 10 years they can. And I'm actually concerned in a negative way about that, because then what happens to jobs, all these entry-level jobs?
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be something that is going to be managed very closely. I think from my perspective, it's going to be balancing that guest experience with sort of the needs of managing the business and figuring out where the optimization point is between using robotics to elevate the experience and, potentially other use cases for automation where it starts to have the opposite effect. Yep.
What hotel tasks are no-brainers for robotics from your perspective?
Great question, right? And I think it flows to like the things that, your staff just would be like, God, I don't want to do that, right? Things that are not super high value, but they're high value to the guests. So delivering toiletries, delivering towels, housekeeping calls down to the front desk for additional toothpaste, toilet paper, things like that. Food delivery is great. And not just food delivery from an in-house restaurant or maybe, a snack bar, but also Uber Eats, for instance. If you don't want the Uber driver roaming around the hotel, or if you don't want your guest coming down to the front desk, you can certainly leverage the delivery robot for that as well. Those are the things that we see really, really commonly. And then beyond that, like we're seeing folks establish sort of new services like gourmet coffee in the morning, things like that, maybe perhaps would have required additional staffing or additional bandwidth that the robot can, provide that bandwidth for, right? And then you can, incrementally drive revenue.
So one of the things that I like using the robot for is where I first was exposed at a trade show when I first met. I guess we've had our robot in now for 9 years.
Yeah.
So 9 years ago, I saw how there was a joke that the robot can do. And of course, the robot doesn't talk, but it communicates via text letters. So we see the robot will tell a joke, and obviously you don't hear the guest laugh. The jokes are dad joke level.
We call them PG-13. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And of course, my dad jokes are really bad according to my family. But those dad jokes make for people saying, hey, look what this robot is doing.
Yeah.
And I think you being the firm refers to it as a mingle
mode,
where there's let's say it's a small reception and the robot's cruising around.
Yep.
And makes all sorts of weird noises, as you know. It's a lot of fun when people have never been exposed to a robot up front where they can actually ask it a question. They can say, tell me a joke about this, or they can do that. So nobody makes money with that, but it sure impresses the reception crowd or the lobby lizards.
I agree, right? And so that's exactly right. If you have a line of people waiting to check in and you have a robot on mingle mode, it changes the experience. It also introduces the robot to your guests, right? Oh, what do these do when you're checking in? Oh, well, did you know you can order room service with it? It helps educate the guest about this is a neat amenity that I can take advantage of as well. So we see a lot of people really leverage that mingle mode to drive customer experience. And you're right, it doesn't specifically drive revenue, but things like that help improve customer experience, drive reviews, improve ratings over time, things like that, which certainly do have effects on rebookings and, your ability to retain customers and drive new business, right?
So is there anything that you found surprising when you first deployed, the first time that you saw a robot deployed? Any surprises?
Yeah. The most surprising thing to me is actually the customer experience benefit that people get from it. I come from, like I said, the software world where ROI is often directly tied to, revenue, right? Is the robot making me $2 more a day or $3 more a day or whatever it is, right? That's not necessarily the same conversation. That's a conversation I expected to have in some ways, right? Like, oh, did I sell more room service today? But actually, where we're seeing really big benefits, and I'm hearing this across the customer base, is just sort of like the experience. People love the robot. It drives reviews. It makes them, inquire about room service, kids especially, depending on the demographic of the hotel, like take pictures with it, right? It really is a game changer for experience. And it's not just a tool. And where we started the discussion was sort of like, oh, a robot's going to replace people or whatever. It's actually not. It's like having a mascot. It's a different type of experience.
You've hit a nerve there with me because I'm the one who, you see it from one side, I see it from another side. And interestingly, I was fascinated by the fact that not only do customers love interacting with the robot and their kids go gaga over the robot.
Yeah.
I don't know if gaga is a word anymore.
Sure.
But the employees, they love the robot. They love using it. They love pleasing the guests.
Yeah.
And it does improve reviews, absolutely. So it's still a novelty.
Yeah, it's just, to your point, it's another tool in the arsenal for the staff to help make the experience optimal, right?
Now, what we talked about ROI. You talked about it just now.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ROI conversation owners respond to the most?
Yeah, so I typically have conversations that center around three things. One is optimizing staff efficiency, and this is not just the conversation around, can a robot replace a human? This is actually the conversation around if the robot is doing X, the human could be more valuable doing Y, right? It leverages up the staff that you have in different ways to improve the service, to improve their satisfaction, to retain employees, all sorts of knock-on effects there too, right? So that's one. The second one is what we were just talking about, right? It really drives customer success, and if well integrated into the guest experience, can be a game changer there. And obviously that has ROI with, like I said, rebookings, with improving scores, driving more business.
Sure.
It's a competitive differentiation, as you know.
Yep.
And then the third thing is like revenue that can be directly attributable, right? It's increasing pantry sales. It is potentially allowing you to drive room service, or at least make it more efficient, but also, as I mentioned earlier, add new services. Like, are we doing, a VIP morning coffee experience for frequent stayers? There's any number of ways that you can leverage it to sort of increase the value of what you're already doing.
So here's a question that both of us can answer.
Yeah.
But it's, how do employees react the first time they work with a robot?
Well, I'd love to hear your answer on this. I think it can vary, right? Like there always can be resistance to change, particularly technology. It can be threatening. And so it needs to be presented as a benefit, a tool, something that will improve the employee's ability to do their job, right? And do their, help them stay aligned with sort of what they're measured on, right? Your employees are already probably measured on things like guest satisfaction, or, metrics tied to your hotel that the robot will help them be even better at driving. And so maintaining that alignment, understanding the why we're doing this is really important to getting everybody on board and having that robot be part of the team.
And what's interesting from my perspective is the young employees embrace it instantaneously.
Yeah.
The older employees love it, but they're hesitant and a little bit nervous.
Yep.
And they're nervous that they're not going to be able to do it.
Yep.
Because it's a robot. And, they may have been brought up with the Jetsons and the Jetsons flying over the city. We still haven't gotten to that part. Air
Waymos have
taxis.
got us somewhere
We're
there.
close.
We're getting
close.
there, yeah.
But in any case, the fear factor is based, not always, but oftentimes on age.
Yeah, it is for sure.
So what skills will the next generation of hotel workers need? Is it like AI, where we have to train AI and then eventually they get it? What's it going to be like?
It's a good question. And, from my perspective, I think, it's going to be less of a learning curve than people think, right? It's, we're talking about robotics. But really, as when you're using it, it's learning to use the software and learning to program it. Most of the hard work is done before you get there. It's already integrated with the elevator as part of implementation. The hotel is mapped as part of implementation. You don't have to learn how to do any of that as an employee. All you need to learn is sort of how to, enable the robot to do its task, which is the easy part. I'm sure that will continue to evolve over time. But I see it almost more as sort of an adoption of, at this point, software into your workflow as opposed to something that's sort of beyond that, like AI.
So are you thinking of when Relay makes software changes, that obviously there could be some small training there.
Course.
What I'm thinking the biggest training is going to occur when Relay or even another company, if you decide not to go that way, starts introducing robots into other positions. We tried it, for instance, with vacuuming.
Yep.
And the reason we went with the vacuuming, by the way, was to help those housekeepers not have to vacuum, because repetitive stress injuries were found to be highest among those who injured themselves while vacuuming. So we're trying to get rid of that workman's comp problem that we were having with those injuries.
That's really interesting, actually. I had another conversation with a customer this week who was looking at it sort of similar for vacuuming, for cleaning up spills, right? And like workman's comp is one thing, but also when you think of somebody, and we work not just in hotels, but like in larger sort of hotel casino areas where that can happen more often, that pulls housekeeping staff or cleaning staff off what they're doing and is interruptive to their day if they have to go, stop doing what they're doing, clean up a spill and all of that. And so what you want to do, whether it's housekeeping or custodial staff in some ways, keep them sort of task focused on what they're trying to do and minimize the interruptions and pick those up
right.
With an application of robotics perhaps.
And one thing that we should talk about, I think, is the tasks that should never be automated.
Well, I'm a little biased as the automator here, but I would love to hear your perspective on it. I think if I want to answer this question more as like a customer,
right?
Not of Relay, but of a hotel, right? And I think that you do need a human experience. You do want to ideally have a human at this point check you in. Or provide sort of a level of white glove experience, perhaps exchanging money or credit card information feels easier with a human. And if there are lots of questions and you're, trying to get everybody that's checked in well-oriented and educated, like those human first tasks are probably the ones that I would automate last. But it can also depend on what type of hotel experience you have, right? I don't see a robot checking anyone in at the Four Seasons anytime soon, but you can certainly see a lot of, more technology forward hotels, Dream Hotel, for instance, where the robotics are picking up more of the tasks because the customer experience and expectation is a little bit different.
Well, you mentioned Four Seasons, so I'll call it the luxury
Yeah.
level. And I was on a panel with one of the people not from Four Seasons, but in the luxury sector. They had multiple luxury properties, and they were very much opposed
Yeah.
to automation. And I tried to explain that Gen Z and millennials, even if they're staying at five-star hotels, they're not offended by technology in the right places. And you definitely need the human touch to differentiate yourself. But I kind of view things as we have the star, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star to 5-star hotels. The 5-star hotels, you have to be extremely cautious in the use of technology. If it's not feeling personal, you will offend a good number of guests. On the other hand, younger guests and those 1, 2, and 3-star hotels could probably be automated dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And I view the central person there being kind of a host instead of a front desk agent. It's a host. So that all the baby boomers and Gen Xers who are a little bit uncomfortable with all the automation, AI, and robotics, they can ask questions.
Yeah.
The others, they can do what we do when we check into a hotel in Vegas and just go to our room.
Yeah. It's a good point. And like, even you see that type of experience starting to divert when you're checking out the supermarket at Whole Foods. Like, all right, well, actually each time I'm more and more comfortable just checking out myself, rather than going through the line with a checkout person.
So I think so Jeff, what does a robot-ready hotel look like? Robot-ready?
Well, I think any hotel could be robot ready, but there are some things that, may make them more attractive, right? You want to make sure that you have, an elevator system that is relatively standard. We're happy to have that conversation as part of the sales process. We work with most standard elevator companies or integrations. You want to make sure that you have, an interesting problem to solve around staffing, right? Like you may have something, you mentioned minimum wage earlier, or, you may have lightly staffed periods where there is a more specific need driving the use of the robot. Or you might have the opportunity to leverage the robot for food service and really build out a program that is sort of existing but stagnant and into a revenue driver. We work with small hotels. We work with extremely large hotel casinos. So like what that property can look like varies quite a bit. And it's really just a matter of identifying the use cases, figuring out what the right ratio of sort of robot to room is, and so that you're not degrading the customer experience by, having delayed deliveries and things like that, but really being thoughtful about that too. And all of that is stuff that we do.
If you only had one robot in a large hotel, it would
backfire, right? And you think about that two ways. One, the size of the hotel, but also like if, 80% of the robot's deliveries are done between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. because you've got a breakfast service, like you need to have throughput on that too, right? So you can't have, Wally taking 15-minute laps around people's scrambled eggs.
So I was wondering about brand standards.
Yeah.
So how will robotics influence brand standards? Will it? And will the brands actually adopt you?
Yes, I think it'll be standard sort of for a lot of brands. It'll be kind of an expectation, right? In the same way that, apps have made food delivery ease an expectation, or Uber an expectation, right? This sort of automation of on-demand services will extend to hospitality and robotics and hotels. And I think, while we talked about sort of that 5-star experience, like they may choose more bespoke human options for a while, but over time, as generational change continues to happen, like
Right.
those expectations are going to shift. And so I think it's really going to be the expectation and can be managed within the brand standards that you have and applied the right way, right?
Well, I think that a brand that chooses to make it a standard is going to have a competitive advantage.
Yes, absolutely.
And so somebody's going to do it soon.
Yeah.
So another question that I have that's similar to what we talked about earlier, where from 2007 to 2025, that 18-year period, there was a lot of change. From 2026 to 2035, though, what one prediction would you make that is going to happen in the next 9 years?
That's a good question. Like, I think things will move fast. I think the prediction, in 9 years, this conversation will seem anachronistic in a way because robots will be everywhere. You won't expect anything different. You will be in a hotel and the robot will be, cleaning the carpet, integrated into the experience. Like the entire experience will continue to feel for the customer more and more automated and more custom. And the robots will drive that in any number of applications. And I just think it will be something that you won't recognize in the same way that you recognize it. It will just sort of be.
And I think back in 2035, they're going to say, boy, Bob and Jeff were on to something 9 years ago, So we've put into this podcast a rapid fire robotics unfiltered program. And so let's start with, and we'll see how if you and I differ on this.
I'll tell you if I disagree.
If you agree, you can just tell me.
Yeah.
So robotics in hotels, hype or inevitability? I say inevitability. You say?
I think we obviously agree on that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Okay, there you go. That's a good one. Okay, one hotel role that will look completely different in 5 years. I had a tough time with that. I was waiting. Is it food? Is it a server? Is it desk agent? Is it a housekeeper? I'm going to say housekeeper.
Housekeeper's a good one. Just like the runners, the tasks that you and I know that it's a chore rather than a service in a way.
Okay.
Housekeeping to some degree. I think those are the
You
ones.
sort of agree?
I mostly agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to 3.
I forgot it was a quick fire round.
Oh yeah, rapid fire.
I was
man.
giving you paragraphs.
Yeah. So the biggest mistake hotels make when adopting robotics. I think it's the assumption that you can replace an employee.
I agree with that, but I also would say, the biggest mistake they make when adopting robotics is not thinking about integrating it into the full experience and getting sort of pigeonholed into just like 1 or 2 use cases, right? It works best when you really, really think about it.
So will robots be expected, not impressive, by 2030?
Oh, so not 2035?
I'm going to say yes, but I'll let you decide if that's too fast.
Well, if I do my job, the answer is yes. And if we do our job, the answer is yes.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
In one word, what do robots give hotels more of?
Bandwidth.
Bandwidth, and I'm going to call it uber cool, even though that's technically 2 words.
It is too technical.
All right. Jeff, it's been a pleasure. A huge thank you for joining me and pushing the boundaries of what service can look like. If you're an owner, operator, technologist thinking about the next decade of hospitality, I hope this gave you a clearer and maybe more exciting picture of what's possible. Thanks for listening to Where Hospitality Meets Robotics. Until next time, stay curious, stay innovative, and keep building the future of service.